Okay, let's talk about arcs. Here we have a scene, simple scene with just a sphere in it. It just has two keyframes. It's moving linearly across the screen. Okay. Um, Now the path this thing's following is linear, right? It's just going from point A to point B, and it's following a straight line. Come up here to animate, create editable motion trail. You'll actually get a representation of the path of travel. Let's go over here, kind of a mid frame, and we're going to move that up. So now you see it's following, this is more of an arced trajectory. And what's neat about motion trails is you can actually click on the keyframe and edit it, and it'll update the animation, which is a really nice tool, extremely useful when you're animating. It's something that I use all the time, and I highly recommend that you use it as well. I also, I use it in conjunction with the other tool here, the Arc Tracker. I just opened up the outliner, selected the handle, deleted it. You can add the object, and what's nice about this is this actually shows you the position along each frame, which is great for spacing. And another really great tool, although this one you can't manipulate. It doesn't affect the animation at all. So, all right. So again, this is basically, a simplified arc, right? So if you're doing a baseball, animating a baseball being thrown, you're going to want to do it with an arc. Okay, and basically anything natural or organic is going to follow, as it moves through space, is going to follow this arced trajectory. And to kind of illustrate this a little bit more, we are going to open up. I downloaded some clips. This is a slow motion throw baseball pitch, since we talked about that before. And we're just going to track some of the body parts in here. There we go. Here's the foot on this frame. Then we're going to frame advance up to here. And you can see how it's already kind of making this curved line. Probably using a smaller, break that down a little bit. Okay. I'm going to drop this little tool here inside my window so it's easier to go through. It actually does a little loop-de-loo up here. You follow this, it kind of comes up here, and then it moves just a little bit to the left. See, in these little tiny nuances, this is what really sets good animation up from not so good animation. It just separates the really outstanding animation from the crowd. And then it kind of comes back down on a very similar path. But as you can see, as we went through this, it arced back down this way. And then it comes out, and it doesn't come straight down. It doesn't hit a linear path down. It actually comes along here, and then it drops like that. Again, arc. See how that works out, which is very cool. Now let's you can follow the back foot as well. And granted, not all of the arcs are going to be super. Let's change the color here. Clean and smooth. You know, they're going to have little deviations in it here and there on, you know, when you're and if anybody's ever seen any motion capture data, you'll see that. But you know, overall, the path is you know, is arcing. There's no hard. You never get any hard, you know, edges like that, unless you know, if you see a ball like a bouncing ball, if it hits a ground plane or something, then it bounces off it. So something unnatural or something will have to deflect it. But typically, you know, free moving objects are going to follow this arced trajectory. So now if we just look at that back foot, it actually does this little dip as it comes off. If we were looking at the ankle, right? All right, so there's the ankle there. And it comes up here. Here, let's get rid of this blue one so you can see what we're doing. It's going to come up here, kind of following the heel. So it drops here. So there's this little deviation. And then it rises back up again. And again, you can see this is kind of a good example of that. You know, you get a little noise in that arc in the path of travel. So if I were to animate this, I would smooth that out. Okay, and you know, one thing that we do when we're animating, you know, we look at a lot of video reference, especially for fighting stuff or action, and that's exactly what it is. It's reference, right? You don't want to have a one-to-one relationship with your animation and the reference. You're using it as a guide, and any inconsistencies or issues with the reference you want to clean up, and you want it to, you know, in your animation, you want to have it be much clearer. So I may even get rid of this little bit in my animation if I were animating this. Either that or just make it a little bit, I may accentuate it to make it read a little better. And you can really see the arc here as the foot kind of comes up. And then swings around. And it's really, really visible there. But again, you know, if you're, you know, if this was a mocap game, then you'd want to keep that stuff in it. But if it's keyframed and you're using this as reference, you might want to get rid of that little bit or accentuate it to make it read even a little clearer. All right, so let's open up this one. Here we have kind of a very game-related bit of reference. Now, on this guy, what would seem like a very linear action all right, so here's the fist here. And then we're going to track it to here. You can see that the arc that's happening here. All right, so you can see the arc, and it's not, one of these ginormous arcs like this where it's really steep. It's a really shallow arc. And then as it hits the face, bounces off, it kind of does a little loop here. And then it continues to kind of come down and drop. And then come back. The key thing is you always want it to have these, these arced paths. You don't ever want to have these sharp corners in your animation, of course, unless, it were to hit, a wall or the floor or, a block or something. Then you would get something like that. But, normal movement, you're going to want to make sure it's nice and flowing and organic like this, which is really important to give your animation that natural, fluid, organic feel to it. All right, so now we're going to quit out of that. So that should give you an idea of, the path of action and arcs and stuff. And if you follow with that left hand, or his right, that's actually his right hand, you can see the arc there as well. If you follow the arm, this arm, all right, wham, it comes in, swoops through here, does a little loop here, and then it starts to draw back as it follows through the punch and then drops and then comes back. So hopefully that gives you an idea of, what arcs are, and where to look for them and track them in your animation. We're actually going to open up an animation that I'm working on of a walk cycle, and we're going to track some things, and we can take a look at how that's working. So let's kind of move on to that.